Roll out the wheel on a southbound train, rolling like a lead, just set the record straight. That hole he was digging too deep. Hope she can handle what she stole from me, so I roll. Flow like a river, roll like a coaster. The way I cope, I bet your mama never told you. Burn like a fire, you never see the smoke. I'll be drowning in a bottle, but you're never gonna know. It never gets old. When you're rolling stone, baby, I was born to roll.
I'm Travis Edrington, and I'm with Billy Callahan.
A little more love, a little more time, a little more crazy and a little less refined. No matter where I go, no, I won't ever change. I'll always be the girl that won't leave.
What's the earliest memory that you had of music and that you knew you wanted to do this thing for real?
Yeah, I think the earliest memory of music, one time I was really into Selena Gomez, wanted to be a little more punky, and I wrote a song called Punk in the Street, and I didn't play guitar, like nothing, and I thought, I was like 8 or 9, and I thought I was super edgy and cool, but I think that was one of the first real memories I had of music. But when I realized I wanted to pursue it, I was at a Demi Lovato concert. And again, I was still going through this, I'm such a cool kid kind of phase. And I remember looking at my mom being like, this is what I want to do. And she looked at me back, and I was so nervous. Like the whole concert I was watching, and I was in my mind like, this is what I want to do for a living. And at that point I was probably like, again, 8 or 9. And she looked at me and was like, okay, let's do it. And ever since then, there's been no going back.
So how old? So you say you're
8 or 9, yeah.
That's pretty young.
I was really young, but I think that, I started playing guitar around that time, so I kind of had an idea that was like a passion of mine,
At the end of February, you release your song "Roll."
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you think people will take from that song?
I want people to take away from Roll, I mean, not just from the songwriting aspect of it being like a kind of in-your-face kind of song, but I think initially, like maybe for me as an artist, I want people to kind of take away that it's a new era for me. I had always been kind of categorized as the 15-year-old that came to town. When I moved here, I was 18. Like I had always, talking about age, I was always just considered a lot younger than I was. And so that kind of gave me a lot of struggles in the music industry. And so Roll is just completely different. It's like the new me. It's like the older me. It's the 20-year-old me, so.
Roll at the wheel on a southbound train, rolling like a lead, just set the record straight. That hole he was digging too deep. Hope she can handle what she stole from me, so I roll. Flow like a river, roll like a coaster. The way I cope, I bet your mama never told you. Burn like a fire, you never see the smoke. I'll be drowning in a bottle, but you're never gonna know. It never gets old. When you're rolling stone, baby, I was born to roll.
What kind of struggles did you deal with?
Well, everybody, I would go into meetings and they'd be like, oh, you're 18, just wait till you turn 21 and you can drink. Like, you got time, whatever. And, at that time, I just moved here. I was eager. I was ready to get the ball rolling, and I just got rejected so many times. And the way that I kind of viewed that was I realized that I didn't want Nashville. Like, if Nashville wasn't gonna take a chance on me at that moment in time, then I was just gonna do whatever I wanted. I wasn't gonna wait for Nashville to be ready for me. I was gonna be ready, and then if Nashville wanted me, then they would. And so, by golly, I must have done something right, because everything's going fantastic.
What was the writing and recording process like for Roll?
Oh my gosh, Roll. So the writing process for Roll, I categorize myself now as like the girl version of Eric Church. So it's a lot more like like not grungy, but like rock country mixed with like blues-esque kind of vibes. And so I've been wanting to write music like that for so long. Like that was how I knew I was going to set myself apart, was trying to do, like the next Miranda meets Eric Church. And so I really, 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 like, I wanted to perfect my craft with that. I was trying to do everything I could to, like, make it absolutely perfect. And so nothing was really kind of getting there for me. And then I went to a write this past December with two guys named Nick DeLeo and Nick Halstead. And I told them at that time I'd just gone through a really hard breakup. And I told them everything that had happened. And they were like, we need to write a song. Like, you're just kind of like rolling through it. Like, you're just getting through everything. Like, no matter what, like, you're still standing strong. Like, you have a positive outlook and you don't really care. And so we wrote Roll. And literally in the first, probably 30 minutes of writing it, I was like, this is it. This is the next single. And so when I say like the star, like the expression stars align, I feel like everything, like the stars were aligning, not only in that write, but then when we went into production, everybody, all the musicians that were in there, we're all just looking at each other like, what is going on? Like magic is just happening. And so it was really cool for me just because that was something that I'd wanted to achieve for so long. And I finally did.
Were you able to pick the musicians that you wanted to record with? I'm very like tedious with what I do, and so I wanted to have the same guys that had done everything before. So every single that has come out, Homemade, Sweet Tea, and now Roll, and then the future ones, I've used the same producer, the same musician, same everything, just because that's like what has worked for me, and I have so much fun with them. And they also go on the road with me a lot too, the musicians that play. Okay. So it's like it's all like a, what is it? What a tangled web we weave. It's kind of like that. It's very it's a good environment. Okay. My favorite part of Roll was the slurs that you were singing. The roll like smoke, my soul.
Oh, thanks.
Can't help but roll.
Thank you. Yeah, we were trying to like make it age appropriate for me too. And I have like a lot of little Calla fans, and I've never wanted to take away from me being a role model to anybody. That's been like one of the biggest things. But I think as me getting older, it's almost like the whole Taylor Swift thing as she progressed through life and whatever, your fans kind of have to adapt to that. So I wanted to do it very like healthy and structured. But with Roll, we were trying to figure out things that you could roll, like Roll Tide, like Alabama Roll Tide, or like rolling, like waves rolling, and like a train rolling, whatever. And so we had come up with a lot of really cool, like a little bit more like sassy, like badass kind of examples of rolling, like the smoke or whatever. And so I wanted to save that to the end. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you spend a lot of time growing up at the theme parks because you're from the Orlando area?
Yeah. I had Disney passes for a little bit, and then I had Universal as I got older. Because I feel like Disney is when you're younger. You're from Orlando or the Florida area, so you get it. But yeah, we would go to Disney a lot, and then as we progressed and the roller coaster kind of fiend kicked in, we did Universal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Universal.
Really?
I preferred Islands of
Oh,
Adventure.
yeah. Well, I meant like both of them. The first roller coaster I ever rode was Hulk.
Yeah,
believe it or not,
that was mine too.
Yeah, so if you're from Orlando, like you're from Florida, you really know like the Hulk is where you lose your roller coaster virginity. I feel like.
I know. I was like 5th grade, and my dad took me to the South Florida Fair.
Okay.
And that was my first loop-de-loop type of coaster, and I didn't like it. And then the next year, I went to on a field trip to Universal and rode the Hulk, and I've loved roller coasters ever since.
It's like a thing. I think it's like a Floridian thing. Is you just love roller coasters.
Yeah, the one thing that I liked about living in Florida is that the field trips were to the theme parks. So I was in Orlando every year or Tampa for Busch Gardens.
Oh my God, I love Busch Gardens. One of my field trips, or when I was a senior in high school, the grad bash, they rented out all of Universal, or Islands of Adventure. And so you got to go in and like do the park privately, so it was really cool. But no, yeah. I'm definitely an Islands of Adventure girl for sure. I wish they still had Dueling Dragons.
Do they not have that anymore?
No, I haven't been in a long time, but I think that they took it down. I'm not too sure. I know.
So how much time did you spend at the beach? Because the beach is kind of a long way from the Orlando area.
It's about maybe 45 minutes to an hour from me. I grew up going to the beach a lot. Like my family, I would be living in Nashville with my family if they didn't love the. I mean, I would have moved here a lot sooner if it wasn't for my parents' love for the beach and the sun and everything. So I spent a lot of time there, but. I went to the beach a lot through high school, but I'm really Irish and I just burn. I never got tan. I mean, like, it was terrible, and so I finally came to the conclusion that I was not gonna get a tan. I was just gonna burn. So I kind of looked at it in the sense of, okay, well, if anything, you're probably gonna have really good skin when you get older because you don't have a lot of contact with the sun, because I just burn. So I haven't been too often, but this Nashville winter has been brutal. So when I do go to Florida, I do definitely make time now to go to the beach. In fact, I actually headline House of Blues Friday, and Saturday I specifically blocked off nothing so the band and I can go to the beach. So yeah.
Yeah, I was quite the opposite. I was like 30 minutes from the beach, and I hardly ever went.
Well, I think being from Florida, you get a little spoiled, with everything, all the resources that you have at once, and so I don't think you realize how nice it is until you leave.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things too, to go into my previous single, my first ever one called Homemade. That's one of the biggest struggles when I moved to Nashville, was that I didn't realize, how much I had being in Florida. Lake life is a completely new thing to me. I'm trying to embrace it, but yeah, that was one of the hardest things, was just the familiarity. And Florida is so similar to Tennessee, but it's also very different. So I've had to adjust to that too.
What is your song Home Life about?
Homemade.
Oh, Homemade.
Yeah, Homemade is about the appreciation of where you come from. So talking about the whole age struggle for me. When I moved to town, I was so eager, like I said, to be here and just be in it, get the ball rolling. And so I went through a lot of struggles with that. But then also, I moved here a week after I graduated high school. I had planned for everything that happened, and whether it was financially or a house or whatever. I knew all that, but there's a lot that you can't plan for. And so I really started missing my family. My mom was my best friend, and I missed my mom, I missed my dad, my brother. And I grew up with dogs greeting you every second you walk through the door, and I didn't have that, and it became very lonely for me. And so that's when I wrote Homemade, just to kind of be no matter where I am, I'll always have my roots, I'll always have my upbringing. Mm-hmm.
Your home was hit by a tornado, that you had recently. Did you have a lot of damage, and was everybody that you knew safe?
I was so lucky. The tornado came down maybe 10 minutes from my house, and if it would have gone north, it would have been really bad. I probably would have lost my house. But I know a few people that lived in Germantown, but they all got really lucky. So God was definitely watching over my friends and family during that time. But I know that there was a lot that was going on, and so I tried the best I could to help out and volunteer and donate stuff when I could. But I think the one thing that broke my heart was seeing all the animals that people had lost. So one of the things that I cherish a lot is humane societies and just anything with pets really, and animals. And so I really tried getting the word out about that. So we helped find a couple lost pets owners in the process, which was really nice. But being from Florida, hurricanes are a big thing. But man, you live in Kansas now.
Yes.
I'm not used to tornado sirens, and it freaked me out so much. I was the purge is happening. So I woke up because I know the difference of a storm and a bad storm, and I woke up and the sirens were going off, and you don't know a hurricane you can plan for.
Yeah.
But man, this tornado, I was freaking out. So.
June will be a year that I've been in Kansas.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
But
wow, congrats.
My first hurricanes that I was in was Francis and Jean, and
yeah.
I loved it because we're out of school for a whole month.
It's so fun, yeah. People are okay, another thing too, not to get off topic, but people always say that Floridians are crazy. And I say that like Floridians. I'm a Floridian. Like respect. But it wasn't until I met someone from California, and they were like, "No, Floridians are crazy." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, you don't hang out on your porch during a hurricane? Like, you don't go alligator hunting, at the Egon River? Like, what?" So it was definitely weird because I wish I could have enjoyed the tornado more instead of being free. Like, I wish I could have sat on my back porch. I just didn't know what to expect. But no, I got really lucky, and to everyone that was affected, I wish that there was more that I could do to help. Yeah.
What is your song Clocks about? Well, Clocks Move is.
Oh my gosh, you're going so far back. Okay, well, anyone that doesn't know, I released an EP when I was about 13, 14, and it was called Tear It Up, and so Clocks Moved was on that album, man. So I wrote Clocks Moved. I used to now I feel like I have a lot more direction of what the kind of music I want to write. Back then I just wrote whatever came to my head. I was so little and young and just eager. So Clocks Moved was a song that I wrote about getting older because I felt like I think one night my parents didn't say goodnight to me. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm just getting older. Like my parents don't say goodnight to me anymore. And so I remember writing Clocks Moved because there's one line in it. So I was singing as time is catching. We're just waiting for your call because you always said goodnight. And that was a line that I had initially written the song about. But yeah, you got me on that question because no, that's an old song for sure. It's just about getting older, I'd say.
Okay. How did you decide to make the title of your EP Tear It Up?
How did I decide to make the title? So initially, I was going to call it. Oh, I don't even know. I think I wanted to make it self-titled when I was younger, just to be cool. But then initially the album track itself, Tear It Up, was supposed to be Come Back, and it was initially supposed to be like come back to me now. But then I realized it was very similar to a Taylor Swift song, so we changed the melody up and did tear it up, tear it down, all the walls. And so that's when I just kind of realized that was probably one of the strongest songs.
Tear it up, tear them down, all the walls you built around, all about forever's lost and found. Tear it up and tear them down. I found a letter written.
You've opened up for some pretty big names such as Miranda Lambert, Tim McGraw, Luke Bryan. What are some of the things that you learned from them?
I am really fascinated by the way an artist carries himself on stage and like the things that they do, just because it's always been a goal of mine is to obviously be on stages like that. So when I do get the opportunity to do those, I want to do it right. And so I just am really fascinated by the way that they own their craft and they present themselves on stages, I'd say. I mean, other than the music being fantastic and, the side work that they do and the way that they engage with their fans, I think it's just kind of cool to see them in their element, and I've learned a lot from that.
What were the average numbers of, or what was the biggest amount of people that you've sang in front of?
Well, I got to headline a 4th of July festival last year, and that was 33,000 people. But then I actually got to, I've done the arenas, and I did a stadium one time, and that was with 75,000 people. So that was really special. But I sang the national anthem, and I was a nervous wreck. So I feel like I didn't really get to soak in that moment just because I was so nervous. But no, I would say the biggest is probably 75,000.
Okay, that's quite.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
You opened up for Jake Owen. Was it at his charity event that he does every year down in Vero Beach?
No, I think he was on a roster for a festival that I did. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But no, I did that. But then the big ones I've done were like Jason Aldean, which was in Kansas when the tornado came. But then, yeah, Luke Combs was really cool too, because with Luke Combs, I got to open for him before Hurricane went #1 at UCF, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got to open for him before Hurricane went #1. And so from there, it was he just obviously got
huge.
Southwest actually flew to Napa Valley to perform at a private event.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was that, and what was that whole experience like?
What was so cool? So for one, I was announced that I was Southwest Airlines Artist on the Rise, which was crazy. So Southwest, like you said, flew me to Napa to do a festival called Live in the Vineyard. So I got to open up for Avril Lavigne, Natasha Bedingfield, Kelsey Ballerini, Maren Morris, Maddie and Tay, just so many like inspiring people to me that I got to open up for. And what was really cool about that is Avril Lavigne is someone that I like is a big musical influence on me. So it was like a big full circle kind of moment. But they flew me to Napa, and in that moment, I fell in love with California. I fell in love with Napa. Realized that at some point in my life, I'm gonna retire and become a wino in Napa. But it was such a cool thing. It was just very like. I think that was kind of the start of it all because I mentioned before I went through like a really hard time. I lost my grandpa. I went through like a really crazy breakup. You know, pretty much he terminated my lease. Like I was like kind of left like homeless. Really, took all my money, and so that was like the first thing, like good thing that happened right afterwards. So it was like everything had happened for a reason. And then from there it was like I got House of Blues. I started headlining and doing all these things. So I look back on the Live in the Vineyard Southwest Artist on the Rise experience as very like the start of it all, kind of.
Okay, so it seemed like you were at rock bottom, and
I was,
kind of.
yeah, and then I got the Southwest thing, and just from there it's only gone up, which has been awesome.
What was the biggest screw up that you've had in the kitchen?
In the kitchen. Oh, okay. Shout out to you, Dad, because I thought, so when I first moved to town, I didn't know how to cook anything. I was making DiGiorno pizzas and mac and cheese all the time. And so I thought I was like getting to be a pretty good cook. You know, I came back to Florida, wanted to show my parents what I could do, you know. And I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll make you a pizza, whatever. Like, so, you know the pizza, like when you buy the pre-made pizzas and you put them in the oven, it has the cardboard underneath it. Well, me being a dingus, I thought you put that in with the pizza. And my dad, like 10 minutes after to take the pizza out, was like, Billy, you literally could have caught our whole house on fire. Like, you can't put this in it. But I thought that was the way you, like, scoop it out. You know, I thought it was, like, the way to make it move. So that's the worst thing I've done. But then I also, I make a mean chili. My specialties are shepherd's pie and chili. And so when I first started experimenting with making chili, the crock pot, I thought, like, oh, because, you know, the longer you let chili sit for, the more flavorful it gets. I was like, oh, let's keep the crock pot on at night. That way it's like heating it up and like, you know, the juices are flowing. I burnt the entire thing. Like if I wouldn't have woken up probably when I did, my house would have burned down because I left the crock pot on all night, so it just burned everything.
I've done that.
Yeah.
Except it didn't really burn anything that morning, but I kind of kept it on warm.
That's what I thought I did, but it burnt them.
And then but by the time I got home from work, it was it was kind of burnt.
So don't leave your crock pot on.
Going back to the Napa Valley, did you get to meet Avril Lavigne and talk with her backstage for a bit?
I didn't get to, so it's hard as I love opening up for all these people and I want to meet them and just like pick their brain, you know. I'm just so fascinated by how they work and whatever and their work ethic and their music and like, you know, just everything. I didn't really get to meet too many people. I got to hang out with Maddie and Tay and Megan Patrick. But from what, I saw them, you know, I saw Avril Lavigne and Natasha Bedingfield and all those people from afar, like close up, but still from afar. But hopefully, Avril, if you're watching, we can make this happen. We can talk in person. I can meet you.
When you were 16, were your parents okay with you touring?
Yeah, my mom is my best friend, like I said, and I've been so lucky with just the way that their work works. My mom works for my grandpa's plumbing company, and so she got to kind of go on the road with me and do work from afar. So no matter where I went, you know, even though it was still kind of scary being 16 and traveling, either my grandma went with me or my mom. And so even like kind of looking back at that, it's neat because I've made so many amazing memories with them over the years that it's cool to kind of, you know, see where I am at now with my career and kind of compare it to where I was and the fact that I can share that experience with them is pretty cool.
Okay. What has been the biggest challenge of being an artist?
The biggest challenge for me, I'd say, is my age. I feel like, like I said, I'm just about to turn 20, but I feel like I'm like a 25-year-old inside a 20-year-old's mindset. I had to grow up really fast, and I don't regret it by any means, because I think, one of the biggest things that I value about myself is my maturity for my age, and, getting to like hold my own in meetings or whatever. But I would say the age definitely was really hard. And then I was touring so much when I was younger that I had to withdraw from a public school and do virtual school. So I didn't have the high school experience that a lot of people get to have. And so I do wish if I could go back that I would, want to be like play a sport or something, or just kind of have the social aspect of high school. But it's kind of like it's like half empty, half full kind of situation. Yeah. Because if I were to have done that, I would not be where I am. So I don't regret it. But if I could go back, I would change that.
Yeah, I tried one class on the Florida virtual school, and I was.
You didn't like it?
For me, I got distracted real easily. So.
Oh, I loved it because I found that knowing that I had to do this, that I just hated it even more and wanted to get it over with. So I remember coming to Nashville one trip, and we got snowed in, and I didn't have anything to do, so I literally got 4 of my classes done in like 2 days. And I was done. Like I was, So I think that's what I liked about it, and the flexibility that it allowed me. But I mean, looking back, now that I'm graduated, I don't know how. I don't think I could ever do it again. But it was definitely an experience for sure.
Do you have any embarrassing child memories?
Ooh, child memories. Well, I'm trying to think. Okay, so I used to have a speaker system in my room, and I would play Taylor Swift albums, and I had my closet door was a mirror, so I used to practice my dance moves, and sing and whatever, like jump around my room like I was on a stage singing. And like that's kind of like a vulnerable thing to do. And so I remember several times like family walking in or whatever, and that was always kind of like embarrassing for me. But I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've done anything like really embarrassing. If I have, like I've owned up to it. Like I'm really dorky. So if I've ever done anything like that, it just kind of coincides with my dorkiness. But I would definitely say I've definitely felt like very embarrassed when, oh my god, okay, I have one. So, okay, I wrote a song one time. It was the first time I ever had performed out live, and it was during this contest, and it was with like a modeling agency in Orlando, and I wanted to write a song and sing it there as my first ever performance. God knows why I did that, but I wrote a song about my family. And it's literally called, what is it? This is my family, from A to B to C. This is my family. Like, it was like the stupidest song. And I remember, like, that was my first performance, and I thought it was so cool. My mom had done my hair, we got a new outfit from Justice, and looking back, that was so embarrassing. And I think there's, like, a video of it on YouTube, too, so it's out there now, and I can't take it away, but, yeah. Terrible.
You recorded your first album with Martina McBride's band. Mm-hmm. How'd that come about, and how was that experience?
So one of the trips to Nashville, one of my first ever trips to Nashville, I played a writer's round, and my producer ended up being in the same round as me. My producer for the Tear It Up record ended up being in the same round as me, and so he was like, I really want to produce you. I work with Martina McBride's band. We could do this. Like, I think you're talented. You just need to, like, get songs out there. And so that experience was really cool. I can't remember on the top of my head what studio we went to because it was so long ago, but it was really unique just because back then all I wanted to do was be Taylor Swift, and so it was really cool seeing all of her plaques on the wall, and it was just neat kind of seeing musicians in their element, like knowledgeable, just awesome musicians in their element, just making this record like from thin air. That was a really cool experience for me. Yeah, but I think I learned so much from that moving forward as to like what I wanted to sound like and who I wanted to be, because back then I just wanted to sound like Taylor Swift. So by the time that record came out, and I love that record, but by the time that record came out, like that wasn't me anymore. So I think I learned a lot from that. But I've actually kept in contact with a lot of the bandmates that played on that EP.
Okay.
So it's cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.